Hi everyone. I was just having a few thoughts about spiritual practice and meditation, and I have about 20 minutes before I need to go out this morning, so I thought I would actually just turn on the camera and do this sort of thought process aloud to the camera and share my thoughts with you, while at the same time sort of unpacking the thoughts that have been going through my mind on this. So I was thinking last night in particular, and recently in general, but last night in particular, I've been thinking a lot recently about trying to get to the next level when it comes to my personal happiness, feeling fulfilled with life, feeling calm, and just generally feeling as though I'm living the life that I want to be living. Because I realised a few nights ago that I live my life still as though I'm still in university, or as though I still have some big deadline kind of on the immediate horizon. I sort of have this tendency to be sort of tense and feeling as though I just need to kind of keep working really hard on this until this happens, or until this next step. And that once I get to that point, then I'll be able to relax. So I constantly have this feeling that I really need a break soon. I really need to take a rest soon, even if I have actually just like taken a break or taken a rest. And it did kind of dawn on me that actually I've been living my life not as though this is just kind of going to be the rest of my life, but as though I'm still in that mindset that I got into in university, where I was constantly very stressed out and thinking that I was working up towards this one big goal, this one big end point, and everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be worked really hard on and really perfected up until that point, and then I could relax. And I think I just kind of got into a very unhealthy kind of habit with my mind over that time, because obviously first I was in school and there was that kind of mentality when I was in secondary school, then I went into university, and then that really went on until only a couple of years ago that I finished university. And that kind of tied in a lot with realizing that I'm not as happy as I could be, and that a lot of that seems to have to do with feeling very stressed and tired, and feeling that stress and that tiredness leads me to not really actually being able to tell, and I've mentioned this a few times in videos before, not actually being able to tell what's really making me happy and what is going to make me happy, what I actually want to be doing and what I don't, because everything in my life kind of gets this glaze of faint sort of stress and anxiety, and everything just sounds like a bit difficult and a bit kind of like it's going to take a lot of energy, and sometimes I just feel like doing nothing at all. Whereas I know that some things in my life should be bringing me more joy, that I should be at a point now where I can start noticing which things I really get into flow with, which things I feel like I'm getting really competent at, and which things I maybe ultimately need to be starting to let go of. So obviously I've had a lot of changes going on recently in my life, and there's obviously a reason why I'm feeling kind of in turmoil a bit at the moment, and probably a reason why I've been having a lot of the same issues coming back up again, in terms of I have a tendency to sort of burst into stress. Like I will just sort of, I have a bit of a temper, but these days it doesn't so much manifest itself as like anger towards other people or outbursts of rage. It will tend more to manifest itself in just sort of a bubbling over of anxiety and stress. Like something small happens and I just can't handle it at all, like that I just completely melt down. I just sort of hit boiling point and it's all a big panic, and that is something that I definitely go through phases of being able to manage, that it kind of doesn't happen to me so much, and then but then as soon as I'm under stress, as soon as there's something difficult happening in my life, as soon as there are any complicated emotions going on, it all starts kind of bubbling up again. And I kind of realised that maybe this is something that I actually just need to find a way to change, and that maybe I'm not actually going to, I was sort of slipping back into that mentality again of I'll be happy when, you know, I'll be happy when I get over this difficult period of my life. I'll be happy when I'm making X amount of money. I'll be happy when I know if I'm going to college next year. I'll be happy when, you know, all of these things about my relationships and my career and everything. And it just suddenly dawned on me that I'm just doing more of the same kind of thing, more of that sort of goal-oriented happiness in the future, constantly just projecting into the future and not concentrating on actually making myself as happy as I possibly can be in the moment, despite everything that's going on, because there always will be things going on. There always will be things that are difficult. Sometimes will be Sometimes obviously there will be harder things going on in my life than others, but I just realised that maybe it's not so much about planning and scheduling and figuring out exactly what my days should look like and which habits I need to keep and which habits I don't need to keep, that actually maybe it's more that I need to sort of completely overhaul my very kind of deeply ingrained habits and tendencies as a human being. So the reason that this ties into spiritual practice and meditation is that I had a realization this morning that I was thinking about the times in my life when I have felt more grounded and centered and happy and just filled with joy and calm and serene, and that I've managed to avoid slipping into those tendencies towards stress and anxiety. And I realized that actually I think they have been the times when I have been the most spiritually centered, and also when I've had a really dedicated meditation practice. Now, if you asked me this yesterday, I probably would have said, oh well, the reason that I feel more spiritually connected and spiritually centered, and that my meditation practice is going better at those times, is because I'm feeling happier, because things are going better in my external life, and because I'm more emotionally secure, because all of these things are just going right in my life. But it suddenly dawned on me that actually maybe the mistake I'm making is that it is actually the other way around, and that it's just that when I get inspired to really focus on a meditation practice, and to really focus on building my spiritual practice and getting myself into that meditative state and into that state of reverence and awe on a regular basis, that actually in itself just changes my brain. It changes the pathways in my brain, and that is actually genuinely, you know, how things work. And meditation is, I know that meditation is completely capable of changing the brain, making you happier, calming you, just completely overhauling the way that your mind works. And I realised that for the last while, especially when things started going belly up a bit, like when things started getting really complicated and confusing in my life, I sort of get into this state of thinking like, oh well, my meditation practice isn't going very well, I'm not managing to focus, I'm really just sitting in front of my altar just thinking, my mind is just going, you know, full force, and I'm making some attempt to kind of return to the breath and keep kind of letting go of those thoughts. But I realised that actually I stopped making the effort. I started making excuses for myself. I started saying to myself, oh well, you know, my mind is very full right now, I have a lot on my plate, I have a lot to be worrying about. And I realised that it is these times in my life when I am in emotional turmoil, or when I'm making big decisions, or when there's a lot going on in my life, those are the times when I should be committing to meditation the most. When I should absolutely be making it my top priority to, you know, not just sit meditation 20 minutes, but maybe sit for an hour, maybe make it an even greater commitment to meditation. And if it takes me 20 minutes to settle my mind, well then, okay, do another 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes after that, once I've managed to settle my mind. And really work on finding that grounded, quiet, calm place within me. Because there's no way that I'm ever going to stop myself from flying off the handle and getting into these sort of waves of terror and anxiety over small things. There's no way I'm ever going to release those aspects of my personality that are so damaging to myself and to my interpersonal relationships and to my energy in general, if I don't find a way of working through them in the moment, if I don't find a way of pushing past them and not just having a solid meditation practice when everything is kind of going well and dandy, but managing to find that place of stillness in the chaos. And it just really dawned on me this morning how much, how difficult it can be to really dedicate yourself and commit to a really solid meditation practice when things are a little bit more difficult in your life. And I was wondering what you guys thought about that too. I know that people, I know I'm not alone in this, and that people will find that when their lives are really hectic, that they find less time to sit, and that it just sort of spirals into this, that you end up, you know, not meditating, and then you feel guilty, so then you don't meditate. I know this is quite common, but I wondered if anybody had any thoughts on this, if you have any tips or anything like that. I've been trying to inspire myself again to get really serious about meditation practice. Another thing I will say is that I think it really is difficult for me to see meditation practice as something that is worthy in and of itself. I find it difficult to see it as a spiritual act that is really worthy, or that is really important, or that is really actually connecting me, or in some way I feel like it's not spiritual enough, because I'm not, I don't know, because I'm not traversing the astral, because I'm not doing anything exciting and lighting candles and saying prayers, and it just seems very very quiet and still, and like if it's going to be, yeah, like it's not spiritual enough if I'm not kind of focusing on those ideas that make me feel reverence. And actually I find that thinking of meditation as a spiritual practice isn't the best way to inspire me to do it, and to inspire me not only to do it but to actually do it properly, and not just sit there thinking, but to actually put in as much effort as I can into stilling myself and releasing and actually meditating. I realise that the only thing that really inspires me to do it properly and to do it in a dedicated way is by telling myself that it will make me happier, is by reminding myself of all the amazing physiological and psychological benefits of meditation. And that kind of comes back to that dichotomy that I've talked about so much before, between self-development and spiritual practice or devotional practice, and that the two kind of go hand in hand, particularly in this community. And when you're a naturalist or a pantheist in particular, it can be quite difficult to really put the devotional practice in first place. And it's much easier to look at self-development practices and say, well, these are definitely worth doing because they will make me happier. Even though at the end of the day, if I have a strong devotional practice, that will make me happier too. But yeah, I guess to cut a long story short, I just had a realization last night that something really drastic needs to change in me, that actually I just need to completely overhaul my mental tendencies, my personality, just the core patterns of my brain. That it's not, I'm constantly writing schedules and trying to figure out how many hours work can I get done, what work should I be doing in every day, and like when should I be setting an alarm to get up in the morning, how often should I go for a run. There's all this excess kind of superfluous stuff. And yes, some of it's important. It's important for me to think about my diet, what I'm eating, how I'm exercising, how often I'm doing it, and fitting meditation into my day and all of this stuff. But it just suddenly dawned on me that something had to change on a deeper level. That all of these minute changes that I was trying to do, like taking a break at this time, taking my lunch at that time, working these hours or working those hours, that none of that was actually going to make any real deep difference. And that I have to find a way of making a much more fundamental shift within myself. And it wasn't until this morning that the realization came to me that perhaps the only way of doing that, the only way of achieving that, will be through meditation, and through really kind of getting myself to the next level of meditation too, really dedicating myself to it and taking it seriously and focusing on that for a while again, and just seeing how it goes, because it has done so much for me in the past. And it dawned on me, a lot of people have said that I've changed a lot. People in my personal life have told me that they've watched me changing an incredible amount over the past year. And when I think about those times in my life in the past year or so, when I have felt the biggest shifts coming on, and when I felt like I'm moving towards happiness and moving towards a better place in myself, it has been the times when I've really been focusing on meditation. So yeah, those are just some thoughts, and if you have any suggestions or thoughts, or you want to talk about it, then leave a comment in the comment section below.